Hello, everybody, and welcome to GetSportsFocus. We are back for week number 3, 2023. So this is gonna be it's gonna be an hour-long thing, but it's gonna be chaptered, so you can skip around. But we're gonna discuss a few important issues. They're not issues, topics. How's that? And we are gonna highlight a student athlete. And this student athlete is a baller. And if we have time, we might do 2. So keep it here.
Get Sports Focus is brought to you by Summit Partners, leaders in growth equity investing. Weightsandbars.com. Build your home gym and shop locally from the Bay Area's best fitness equipment experts. Ike's Love in Sandwiches. Championship level sandwiches every single time. South Bay Construction, a reputation built on trust. And by Game Breaker, the official safety and uniform partner of Get Sports Focus.
And there is Coach Andrew.
What up, what up?
Check it out. I found it was buried underneath a bunch of stuff, and I was like, oh, I got it now. So I figured I'd wear it, and here we go.
I like it. It looks good on you. It's black and gold.
Yes.
Looks great.
Anyways,
Oh, yeah.
So this is Tuesday, the 3rd Tuesday of 2023, and this is GSF Weekly number 3, baby. Let's go. I kind of prepped everybody about some of the topics. Actually, I didn't do any specifics. I didn't say anything specific, but we're definitely going to highlight a student athlete. And I got Coach Andrew here, who's going to do a quick reaction to a highlight reel that I'm going to send him like on the spot. Okay. And then post-production wise, I'm going to put it on the screen so that you guys can see what he's commenting on. We're going to talk about Top Dog 4. And the progress we've made since we talked about it last week. And Coach Kenny Coleman, his session with me, there's a few things that there's a lot of things that he talked about that we kind of want to dissect and get into the topics. Right, Coach? So first of all, why don't we start with our student athlete? You ready?
All right. I'm ready.
Ready. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you this link, and I want you to watch this and give me a reaction.
All right.
This is not the original plan, by the way, because when I woke up this morning, I was greeted with a notification text from my Twitter account, or the Get Sports Focus Twitter account. And it is our 2023 GSF All-Star Offensive Player of the Game from Team Heroes, Keala Keanaaina. He sent me his huddle, and I was like, you know what? Change of plans. We're going to look at Keala's highlight reel. So, Coach, go ahead, look, and tell me what you see. I'm also looking at it right now.
Man, just off the first play, he read that. Like, just right off the bat, just read that.
Like a
quick in his
book.
Man, he looked off the, what was this, last year's? Oh, Westmont. Okay. Oh, no, this is that. He looked off that quarterback on that tip.
That would be the CCS championship game.
He's just so aggressive, right? Like, he just ball hawks to that. Like, that was a jump ball on that one. Oh, man. See, I think a lot of people who return, because I think this is a punt return. Like, if you're a returner, you got to run like this. Like, you don't need to dance around too much. Just make a cut and go. Like, you don't have all that time to do that. Oh, beautiful read. Oh, beautiful read. He saw that the whole way. Ah, of course you have to put the mini game on here. Come on, man. See, and you know what? Safeties, if you can show that you can come up to the line and run stop, that makes you more marketable. Like, that means you're not afraid to hit. Oh, and he read, oh man, he knew what was happening on that one. Jeez, tackle for loss on a swing. Jesus. Oh man, he murdered that guy. Wow. The closing speed is just insane.
Yep, I totally agree.
He just knows where he's at. See, as a safety, like the fact that he moves with flow, like really well, and then he keeps his eye. He really like keeps his eye on like the quarterback like really well. Like he looks him off. That's what like a couple of those picks, and his closing speed is just ridiculous. Like out of his break, he just closes that gap like really fast. But like I said, like what's really impressive is how he hits hard. He hits really hard, and he knows how to tackle. And that goes a long way. He's not just shoulder tackling; like he's wrapping, like he'll wrap and hit you, and just that change of direction speed that he's got, it's really good. Like he's a very impressive returner, and then even that with the ball in his hand, he's not a guy that you really see like he has to make so many moves before he gets going. Like he makes one cut and then he's gone. So that's do not sleep on this guy. Like he's very, very good.
Do not
he's
sleep
very smart player.
on my dude. No, I like Keala, man. I'm glad that he was able to play at our All-Star game, because it kind of, we kind of got to know him a little bit more. I actually learned that his dad was a coach at St. Francis, like week 8 or something like that. I didn't even know.
Wow.
Remember I talked to you about like how he helped me correct the pronunciation of the last name. That was awesome.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he's great player. I want to see him play, the next level. Like he needs to play at the next level. He's got all the tools for it.
Definitely.
So,
I saw him a lot. Obviously we saw 11 games or 12 games, 12 St. Francis Lancers games this past season, because we covered all their games. And, the other team that we saw was Sarah. And I would say, man, it's pretty close. Joseph Bay and Keala are very equal when it comes to just what they do on the field. And there's a couple of things that really stood out in this reel. Like you said, he started off with a great highlight of him reading the ball perfectly well. And you mentioned the closing speed and all that stuff. That's very, very important. I like the fact that he used highlights from the Sarah game and the Sacred Heart Cathedral game more than any other games. I was at the De La Salle St. Francis game this year, and from what I remember, De La Salle is a running team. So as a free safety, you can't really show much, right? Because you're supposed to be covering deep or whatever. So I noticed that he didn't have highlights from that. But knowing that Sarah's got the ballers, the wide receivers, and also Sacred Heart Cathedral, I mean, they got some top-notch guys out there that can go deep. R.L. Miller, Jerry Mixon, those guys. I like how he used that midi game. Obviously, they got a bunch of really quick receivers to cover, and that one big hit on the Bellarmine receiver, that was, that's painful. I wish sometimes like you're able when you're creating these huddles, I wish you could talk about the situation when certain plays happen, because that interception against Sarah, that was right before the half. And that would have put Sarah up like, I think 21 points. So some of those, a lot of these plays that I saw are very important downs, by the way.
Mhm.
Because I saw
Oh,
them,
yeah.
like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. Oh, yeah, I remember that. So this is an excellent huddle highlight reel that a lot of star players should take notes, because this is how you create it. Let's look at his Twitter. Let's look at his Twitter since we're at it. Let's look at his Twitter. Keala, he's a 3-star safety, 2023, St. Francis High School, Mountain View, California. 3.5 GPA, 6 feet, 185 LDS. What does that mean? Is that a long snap? No. KT prep, phone number, email, huddle link. Beautiful, perfect. So let's just use this profile as an example for everybody for now, because that's one of the things that we want to talk about is, like, you know, how to put together your reel and all that stuff. But we were originally going to look at Milwaukee Smith, the Sarah quarterback's highlight reel, but I saw this and I was like, well, shoot, let's just talk about Keala, because he's definitely an under the radar kind of guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was definitely one of 2 best players in the GSF Senior All-Star Game. The other one was Ferrari Miller. So Keala, man, hard hitter, very smart football player when it comes to his reads.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it shows, you know, with his GPA. Like, you know, this is the way he wrote his bio is exactly like what coaches want to see, because the first thing that they're going to see is they're going to see your bio, you know, and your profile should always be public.
Yes,
it needs to be public, and make sure your DMs are like allowed so that you can actually communicate, you know, with the recruiters and with the coaches. That's number one. That's kind of a general rule of thumb. But always put like your class, if you have a star, your position, your school. And because a lot of the schools have the same name, make sure you do put the location, or else they're going to think you're from another school. And then I like that right after school, put your GPA. It's going to become more important now. The GPA is going to be way more important now for all these student athletes. Like, you got to make sure your grades are up 3.0 and above. Like, you got to, like, at a minimum, stay at a 3.0 at a minimum. Always shoot higher.
I think it's interesting how some profiles don't have the
GPA.
Now we know why.
But then, like,
3.0, because 3.0 is like kind of like the cutoff. That was for our All-Star game. We had a 3.0 requirement, and it was pretty easy to just kind of go through accounts and be like, he's qualified. Is he a star player? Oh, he's a starter. He's qualified. Remember that?
Yeah, I mean it. So for the kids that don't know that about this, and you know, you can talk to your coaches, you can talk to your academic counselors at school. You have to be NCAA qualified to get recruited, like, which means you have to have certain GPAs. You have to make sure you're passing a bunch of core classes. Those are like the bare minimum things that you need to do. And then it's depending on what school you're applying to. Like if you need to do the ACT or the SAT, like, you know, that those are all things that you want to like put on there. One thing that I would say, like, you know, you could put on here is his NCAA ID. But because, you know, you only have so many characters to put on there, like, you know, usually like they'll just ask you for it. Or when your counselor sends your transcripts to a school, you know, they'll probably include their NCAA ID. And that's the thing, before you get recruited, they will ask you for your transcripts. So whether you put it on your bio or not, they will find out. So it doesn't really matter. Like, they're going to find out your GPA. So
Yep.
you can be the baller all you want, but the student comes first before the athlete. You know, that's 100% like out there now. And then obviously like he added like, you know, the things that he does outside of St. Francis, you know, KT prep.
Shout out to you, Keala, because you are definitely a role model for all to follow. And I'm glad that we were able to do this. This was not planned. So speaking of not planned, last week I actually went to St. Francis to shoot some rugby footage because Keala and his younger brothers, along with a bunch of other St. Francis athletes, there were girls there too. They now have a rugby program. Yeah.
Jeez.
Boys varsity, girls varsity, JV boys, JV girls. I think they're the only ones so far in the WCAL with a program now in place like they do now. So I was invited to come, and then when I got there, Cal's coach was there, the number 1 team in the nation, college rugby. And I was like, whoa, this is something. So they were doing a clinic, and there were kids from other schools that were in attendance, but it was pretty cool to see. I think it's going to be a huge success at the end of the season when this thing is over. But so far, everything that they're doing is right as far as this rugby thing. And I'm glad I was there to capture that, because I was able to talk to Keala. I was able to talk to his dad / coach. And obviously, you know, got footage of the Cal coaches doing their instruction. But I thought it was really interesting. I've always been a fan of rugby, and I understood a little bit more because the clinic really helped me understand some of the things that happens on the field during a rugby game. And so I'm going to be covering rugby, coach. Yeah, I can't wait for
I love
that.
it. Oh yeah, and you know, like a lot of people don't like, you know, well, not say a lot of people, but like, you know, some athletes don't know that, like, you know, the way rugby, like fundamentally, like rugby, like it can translate over to football. Like you see it, like
100%.
which is why I highlighted that punt return that Keala showed on his video. It's like, that's, once they see space in rugby, once you see space, you just go.
He gave him that rugby shape.
Yeah, and it's not like the dance, and then make a move. It's just like one, go. I mean, there's a running back in the NFL that plays for the Niners who went to Stanford, Christian McCaffrey, who is very well known for one cut guy. And a lot of running backs, like, they try to emulate that part of their game like him. And it's the same thing, you know, you one cut and go, make your move and make a decision.
Well, speaking of decision, like Keala is probably one of the most intelligent when it comes to decision making on the football field. I mean, looking at the All-Star Game footage, I mean, he showed a lot of that. And this is an All-Star Game. There's a lot of like standout guys on that field. And I do want to bring this up because, you know, in 2021, fall 2021 championship game at Westmont High School, I believe Keala almost ended that game with an interception. I think that was him. The ball was like right here, but then the ball, he almost got an interception to seal the deal. So between Sarah and St. Francis, oh, so close. Very, very close competition between those two. And it's going to be nice next year to see them go at it again. I still think Sarah's got the better defense out of everybody, but I don't know how St. Francis is going to be, actually, as far as like returning guys. But Keala is definitely one of the best players that I saw this past season, if you ask me, just by watching how things transpired. So I want to give a shout out to Coach Romo, by the way, and the Cahoon brothers, because I saw them posting stuff and I was like, oh, Jackson and Chase, they're training with Coach Romo. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing to see, because those two kids are, I can't even call them kids now. Those two athletes, they are advanced. Jackson is going to be one of the best linebackers coming back this year, and he's only a junior. Chase is going to be in varsity, and he's only a sophomore. So those guys are ballers. And when I think about, I mean, they work out, and that's why they are advanced. I mean, that's why they got moved up to varsity as freshmen. And yeah, they're going to do some damage next year. And, I was at St. Francis again. Like I said, last week, I saw Keala's younger brother, who was also a sophomore. Oh, my goodness. He's going to be a beast. Kingston, number 2. But yeah, there's a formula, people, and all you got to do is follow the formula. Find guys like Coach Romo and Coach Andrew, or somebody, do your research on the people that you want to work with. Don't just work out with anybody. Do your research. Ask.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to honestly set a meeting up with whatever coach you're going to work with for your off season.
Great job, Keala. You're the man. All right, moving on.